We have some awards today. Unfortunately, when I left the house, I left them home. So we're going to mention them so that we can get the people who are getting the awards, at least the public recognition, and I'll have to get you the actual plaques a little later on. First off is Erich, has earned an AP award as official. So it's official. I've also got another one from the region for you, but that'll have to wait till we get the other thing.
All right.
John Doring is not here, right? So we have a Golden Spike for John. Dave Inslee, I have an official in the AP for you as well, Dave. Those are not easy enough to get because they have to put in time as a region official to get those. So those are difficult to get. And now I'm going to turn it over to Erich because he has a special award from the region.
Do you want to come up, please? Yeah, we can do this from over here. So this is a regional, the Regional Spade Award that was given to Stephen and Kim Lamb back in September at the convention. I wasn't there, unfortunately. But we want to give this to you in person. So here's I'm going to read you the letter, and here's your award. So this is a given out to people who have an impact on the hobby, especially youth. And it's recognition of their efforts to promote the hobby and with our younger folks. To submit this, I wrote this with Holly, my wife. 15 years, Kim and Steve gathered kids from age 8 to 18 into the world of model railroading and showed them all the wonders of the hobby. Kim and Steve found opportunities at train shows, museums, training exhibits, operating layouts, layout tours, anywhere they could find places to expose kids to the world of trains. The YMR were regular attendees of the Greenberg Train Show and Toy Shows in Wilmington, the Hub and Empty Show in Marlboro, the Amherst Show in Springfield, and many others, I want to add. Some of the notable trips included operating at Dick Elwell's, a tour of the MBTA facilities at Boston, Trolley Museum in Lowell, and they were regulars at Rick Keller's B&M New Hampshire division, as well as Bruce Robinson's Valley Junction Railroad and San and Debbie Ames SJNRP layouts, and others. Some of these youth became young operators on the Hub Module Group layout and grew to become adults who joined the NMRA. A few of them even became professional railroaders. Their YMR program consisted of monthly meetings where the youth worked on building their modules, which they took train shows. They learned the basics of woodworking, track layout, wiring, scenery, and operating skills. Kim and Steve shared their wealth of knowledge about building layouts freely with the kids. New members typically started with DC, and as their interest grew, they moved to DCC. The YMR layout supported both so there were no unnecessary financial barriers to young families. A child could afford to take allowance money and buy a used locomotive at a train show and immediately show it off on the YMR layout. This was the spirit and motivation that Kim and Steve saw the need for, and their timeless dedication to these kids was truly inspiring. As Kim and Steve were ready to look for their replacements to take over the YMR, Steve became ill, and his untimely passing meant the end of the YMR chapter in Lowell. It is time to look back and recognize the fantastic impact Kim and Steve had on the future of model railroading. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I find it pretty fitting that when we first started working with Kim and Steve, they were actually holding meetings at Carly's across town.
Yeah.
So Chelmsford is actually the home, sort of the home
Yeah, that
base.
was our, main
And
trains first.
Main trains,
And then
Carly's, and then it passed on now. And then moved, they have a business in Lowell. And so Jonathan, their son is here, and Kim and family is still running layouts by Steve. And we're still going strong.
We're still going strong.
So bringing happiness and joy. Yeah. So it's great to see it's a family business and it's going on. So thank you so much for everything you did.
Oh,
I know our kids loved it, and
It was our pleasure. It really was a labor of love, and
you got 2 more parents back here.
yeah,
Um,
just to see the results, and it was really, really rewarding. And and we couldn't have done it without parents like you either, because that's what kept us going, the support and everything. So I thank you guys too.
so sorry, Steve, you can't be here. That's not fun, but
Oh.
we do miss them.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You can have that.
Oh, I get that too.
You can have that, sure.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
All right, Manny could not be here today. His car died on him yesterday. He got it fixed in time to get a bunch of the stuff for Thomas the Train and stuff up to Wilmington today, so he's in Wilmington right now. Then he as soon as he got that set up, he had to run home, get his wife, because he had her car, and take her somewhere, and so it was just, he just wasn't able to make it. However, he did ask me to mention a couple of things. First of all, holiday party. First, the flyer went out this past week. It's gonna be, back at the Common Market again. Excuse me, on December 14th. We will be putting out periodic reminders, but if you want to go to that, and it's always a good time, everybody always enjoys themselves tremendously. Get your reservation in so that you don't miss it. NEMTE, our fall show is December 7th and 8th at Marlboro, where it's always been. We ask if you'd like to volunteer to contact John Russo. His number is on the website. If you go up at the top, it's about us, and then drop down to the officers and directors. You'll find John's email there. You can contact him through that. We're always looking for volunteers, and if you volunteer, it gets you into the show. You don't have to pay. We have a few open positions in the division that would like to get filled. The headlight, Bill Barry, after being editor for many, many years, is looking for someone to take over that position, and he'll be willing to work with you for a while, but we do need someone to take that over. We still have an open position for public relations director, which is basically someone to kind of make sure that all our show information and stuff gets out to the proper places. And we're looking for a RailFUN coordinator. So if anybody is interested in any of those positions, either see me or see Manny, would love to get some new people involved. We don't, some of us have been around for a long time, and the pool is getting smaller, so some new faces would be really good. So we hope people will give that some thought. Let me see. Okay, RailFUN, future RailFUNs. January. The way it stands right now, James Van Bachlen is going to be doing a clinic on passenger cars. However, I went to book the Marlboro Library and the date that we wanted, even though we're this far out. And you can only book these rooms like this with the libraries like 60 days in advance. So I went to book it, was already booked. So that was no good. The following week isn't open yet. It might be coming up within the next day or two, so I'll have to make sure I get on there bright and early. But I got to check with James first to make sure he can do that weekend, because we got it set for the 11th. But anyway, keep your eyes on the emails, because we will notify you when and where. If that weekend isn't open, or if James can't do it, we may have to move back to here, to Chelmsford, or to some other location. In February, I'm in discussions with James about doing an update on the Yankee Flyer. Yankee Flyer, yeah, that's that thing up in.
Yeah, the
Flying Yankee.
Flying
That's right,
Yankey.
Flying Yankee, there.
I know it flies, but
That work has started on that again to get it up and running, and James is working on that. So in February, he's going to do an update on that. That will be a Zoom meeting. In March, I'm talking to Tim Toll about doing a weathering clinic again, but he works for the railroad now, and his schedule is a little bit up in the air, so that may take a little while before I can nail that one down. And then in April is our annual meeting. That will be a Zoom meeting, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Elections will be coming up also. Anybody interested in running for office? We have a nominating committee headed up by Manny. If you're interested in running for office, let Manny know.
talk to me if you want to. I'm on the committee as well. So.
And any of you that are going to Wilmington tomorrow, by the way, Manny will be there tomorrow. So, all right. And I think that's about all I've got. So I'll turn it over to Erich. And while he's up there flapping his gums, I'm going to pass around a
But
Sign up sheet. What's today's day? 11. I have to look it up. It's been so crazy. All right, there you go. All yours, Eric.
Go have fun. Go drinking.
Thank you
so much. Take care. All right. I'm trying as best I can to capture this meeting on the computer so I can post it. I don't have a big camera, so I just have the screen. So what to do? Hold on. Oh, freaked out. All right. First things first. Who here reads my column in the headline? I actually don't read it. I just write it. Okay. Yeah. So good news for me, bad news for you. I'm announcing that I'm going to sunset that column. Probably. I'm finding it increasingly difficult to keep up with articles, keep the content fresh. Doesn't mean I won't publish. I just do it more as needed. If anyone has an idea and wants to start another column, by all means. Talk to our current, hopefully outgoing editor. Yeah, we get the play.
Still looking for another, volunteer.
We need an editor. We need to give this guy a break, doing it for far too long. So today's clinic is something, I came up with this idea of self-preservation more than anything. I'm not going to give you a slideshow today. I teach part-time. Actually, I'm giving that well up too. I used to, well, in the semester, I'm going to start teaching as well. But I find that with PowerPoint, you can fall into a couple of bad habits. Talk with slides, you only talk what's in the bullets. It doesn't tend to necessarily meet you where you are. Today's experiment, and this is just an experiment, to be honest with you, is to have this open forum where we're going to talk about some things. We're going to show you some LCC stuff. This is all about LCC from here on out. But what I would like, and what I'm hoping you do, is you interact with me and Stan to ask questions. I will try to, on the fly, come up with some way of interacting with the system so you can see things. I have the software running on my laptop. I think it's, this is not meant to be everything you ever wanted to know about LCC and then some, but I'm hoping to introduce some of the topics to people and get them curious, get them involved, because this is what the module group is going this way. We've for those who don't know, we spent the last year, Jeff and Jerry and I spent the last year replacing the damaged panels in the Hub, Husick, and Upton yards with all new panels that are designed and built using LCC technology. Plan is that will lend itself to extending that out to a signaling system, which will also use LCC. So we're really moving forward. We had many years, decade or more of modular signaling, but to make it really go live, it's my opinion. I think the opinion of the group is we're going to move forward. We are an NMRA organization. This is the NMRA standard. It's open, it's available. It's what people are doing now. So we're going to go that direction and use that as a platform for learning and teaching LCC. For those who were at the spring training show down in Rock somewhere. We're done here. But anyway, I did a demonstration there of an LCC-based signaling system that's used as I call it the test bed. That's the platform that we're using to prove out this technology and get it ready for prime time. The effort to rebuild the panels that we did was not planned. It was show season came up. Panels weren't working. They were 30-something years old, and we're like, oh crap, and had to do something. And rather than trying to repair something that was 80s technology, which we didn't have the source code to, which the designer had lost the recipe, couldn't find the stuff. They're like, okay, time to just cut our losses and move on. I think it was the right decision. I think it's been a painful year, right, Jeff? So, we've been, we unfortunately, we're trying to bring the system up live at shows, and that a lot of teething pain happened, but, we're getting there. We're this close. So anyway, without further ado. LCC, let me give a little bit of an intro, I guess, first, and then I'll bring you up and you can go through, their test. Hey, Jerry. So who here is currently using LCC on their railroads? 1, 2, kind of what I expected. The technology for this, this iteration or this current version of LCC is based on the network that runs your cars. It's called CAN bus, if you didn't know that. So pretty high speed, not super, but pretty high speed, pretty robust, and relatively simple. Everything connects around your network with standard Ethernet Cat5 cable. So wiring is pretty straightforward. Where you get down to the point where you have to connect the system to your layout, RR Circuits provides these connectors on their boards. You just use ribbon cable, and this goes to a breakout, and you can hook up wire. So it's very neat. This wiring is pretty straightforward. You can do really nice job without creating a lot of spaghetti. I forgot to turn the camera. Sorry. Over here now. All right. So network cable, ribbon cable. The currently system we're using is filled with these little LCC devices from RR Circuits. They're one of the leading vendors in the space today. This is a whole bunch of control and I/O in one little board, and they're really straightforward to wire up. What I think gets people nervous, anxious, upset, or confused is the programming. So a little bit later, I'm going to bring up some of that, try to explain sort of what's going on there. But I know that seems to be what I get the sense from folks that tends to be a barrier is the interface to program these things is a little bit daunting. So it doesn't have to be, but I think I've complained loudly enough. I know Stan has that the industry has not figured out that they have to really market the crap out of this stuff, get documentation out of people's hands. And what's missing is that documentation. There's documents that go with these boards and these systems, but they're not written from the modeler's perspective. They're written from a technologist's perspective. And it's great technology, but if you can't communicate to people, it's kind of useless. So idiots like me come and do these talks, and we try to help people out. That's sort of the sharing fundamental railroading kind of theme. But it does take a bit of effort to break the ice and get into it. Now that said, once you do a few things and get it under your feet, it's not too bad. But it's just that first step. It seems to be a big. So, yes, sir.
So without LCC, you could run the same equipment under GCC, right? To a certain extent, or?
Yeah, I mean, so philosophically, DCC was designed, and be careful because one of the founders of DCC is sitting in the back row back there. Choose my words carefully. DCC is fundamentally a control system for the locomotives on the track. It was designed to, to solve the problem of putting multiple trains on a track, running them together, and having them do really cool stuff. It uses the track to communicate, and you can connect accessories to DCC and do things like run other devices. But all of that communication has to go over essentially the rails. So LCC was designed to be sort of an adjunct to DCC, and as we're going to find out, they're actually way closer together now than I even thought they would be. But it's a separate system that you can run alongside your train. So you can control trains as well. The two will cross over. But if you want to run a lot of things like signals and a lot of automation and animation, that kind of stuff, it takes a lot of bandwidth. You're not taking that away from you running your trains. So it's a personal decision. You can, if you have a smaller layout, people have been using DCC for well, 30 years. It can do a lot of the stuff. There is some overlap and redundancy with capability, but there's also future expansion into places that just DCC sort of taps out in terms of capacity. LCC takes over and goes away about that. So you know, and there are other systems that have been around. I mean, I think probably the most recognizable one is CMRI. That was or is a system that was designed back in the 80s to add additional capability to a layout separate from the track. So it's big layout, signaling systems, block detection, automation, and animation. People use that for that. The issue with that is that the technology today is a little bit dated and harder to use. So along comes LCC. One of the key things that key differences I think is really important to understand is that these little guys here are really just computers. And you can program these things to do things, do functions by themselves without any need for a computer. You only need the computer to set them up, and then you can unplug the computer and it can go away. You can also use them with a computer and add the computer to the mix, and it can do more things. So you can got a lot of choices. But these are smart. These do a lot of things that and they're designed. One of the I have two different products here from our circuits. There's the Tower LCC, it's called, and this is a Signal LCC. This is designed to hook to signal heads to run your signals, and this is designed to do things, other stuff, other block detection and turnout control. These can run. You can implement signaling with just these boards and not have to have any computer running layout. That's a huge advantage, because I know for us in the module group, that was the Achilles heel of that system was having that central laptop do all the work. It became kind of, you had somebody who could run the computer, run software, and understood how to, in the hands. Okay. So this is nice. You can do things once, set them up. Right now, the panels that we have running on the hub layout, they're all self-contained. They just work on their own little network. They're fine. When we add signaling, we'll just tap in and expand the system. Like we thought about that before. So anyway, any questions about what LCC is or yes, sir.
So just to think about this for a minute. So you have a bus and it talks to the devices. So what you're effectively, is this like getting rid of this, as you said, the spaghetti of wire? Like you could do these same kind of things with a ton of wire and modules and that, right? So you're really just streamlining how things talk to each other, right? Is that what this really is?
In your home layout, what you would do is any place that you needed a bunch of these, to do work, like you have signal heads and you have turnouts and blocks, you want, all that stuff ties into one of these. And then just from one to the next, you just run this cable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of convenient because you don't have to worry about it. And this is all handling all of the signaling, Yes, sir.
So it's been kind of explained to me before of how it's basically talking to everything way faster.
Yeah.
In a simple term, right?
Yeah.
Because you can use DCC to control signal heads, right? You can use it to do block detection. You can use it to throw hairs or tortoise machines. You can do all that.
Right.
Well, the more you're doing all of that all at the same time and running trains,
Right.
you're going to get skips or misses in the events or commands, I guess,
Right.
whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And I've talked to out in Seattle, Heiko Low Gauge. He builds layouts.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty close with him. We chat a lot, and he's implemented LCC on one of his railroads that didn't have it before. They kind of like did an upgrade, and it's already a computer automated layout.
Right.
And basically, what would happen is they would turn it on and do all the stuff, animations, whatever, and they usually it could go for like 20 minutes, but then some command would miss, and you'd have to interfere,
Right.
in one way or another, and then. But he said after this, I don't remember if he said that it was like it would go on for like an hour or just they never had to interfere. But basically, because everything's communicating and all these events and signals and everything is talking with much more freedom than the bandwidth, that's where it comes in. Because if you have that much going on and you don't want to miss a command, that's kind of where LCC comes in. So I don't know if that is,
Yeah, so,
you can correct any point of that.
yeah, no, that's really, a good point. And, you know, fundamentally, the system is based on this notion that, everything that happens out on this command, LCC network comes down to two things. You have something that generates an event, right? Something happens, right? A train passes a signal, or enters a block. Somebody enters a command on the throttle. Somebody pushes a button. There's some action that's taken in the, on the layout that's then encoded into a message that gets sent out. It's broadcast to everybody. And then so that's one half. The other half is, who cares, right? There's somebody listening says, well, if this event happens, I want to do something with that. And so really what you're designing is you're creating this list of things that happen, and the things that use, the things that happen. They're all producers and consumers. That's the fancy name for it. It's the terminology that we use, but it is literally what the English says it is. Some people produce messages, some people consume messages. You can do both. And the nice thing is, you don't have to worry about what wire is that on, right? That's taken care of in one little, like, once you hook up a pin in here and say, okay, that's now an event called whatever, right? It's got a name. That whenever that event happens, the network sees it, oh, that event happened. It doesn't say, oh, pin 4, connector 12 on board 16. It's all abstracted away. You just don't worry about it. Just get it set up once and then off you go. And that's typically how we use, home layouts, your layout's a good example. You have everything sort of planned. It's fixed. You're not going to move it around. That's pretty straightforward. The brain teaser, for anyone in the room wants to think about it, is the goal of doing this with the module group is that we can take our scheme of running signaling around a module layout for a show. Every time we go to a show, the layout's different. So the producers and the consumers are going to be talking to different people, different things, different items, right? And nice thing is you can use LCC to actually do that translation. You can say, oh, I get a message from so and so. Well, I'm going to send so, it's just but it enables that kind of thing. And the nice thing is the infrastructure is simple, right? It's easy. These boards, I think right now are on the order of something just north of about $50, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. But when you factor in your time, the wiring, all the things you have to do to get things in place, it really is a big time saver and brain saver. And you get the reliability of a network that's meant to handle a lot of traffic. So you shouldn't have those cases. Now, assuming that the folks that wrote the code did their job, right? Because you don't want these garbling messages and causing network problems. And it could happen, but it shouldn't. Not supposed to. Assuming this is all worked out, it's very robust. And it's extendable well beyond, think about all the hundreds of computers in a car. And by the way, this is like 70s technology. I hate to break anybody's phone. It's new to very model orders. CAN bus has been around since the 70s. So. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Small layout. To make it worthwhile, go this route rather than just the wires. I don't really have to worry about it because I got a relatively small layout. But as I plan on expansion, so what's the break-in?
I don't know. That's a personal decision, I think. But yeah, signals, yeah. Signals, fun fact. Small brag here. I was struggling with the signaling problem. Because every time I see a signal head, I see dozens of wires, right? And I'm like, this is a solved problem. Why are we doing this? You can go on Amazon and buy these light strips that have hundreds of LEDs and they run on 4 wires. Why are we not doing this? And so I talked to Dick Bronson, the owner of RF Circuits, a couple years ago, and within a few months he had a working prototype on his display table at the National Convention in St. Louis. demonstrating signal heads that are built on just using, well, at most 4 wires for any number of LEDs. And his products now support that. He's got a version of this that supports those LEDs. So you can run, I mean, literally dozens of signal heads off of one controller. Well, that's an economic decision, right? Yeah, you can build it with traditional hardware, but it doesn't take long for the cost to get up to the point where, and all the connections and all the reliability issues that come with that, pain in the neck. So here, we have some space. Come on in. So, it's and I don't know, maybe it's a thing where do you want to play with it or not? I mean, do you want to tinker with that? Do you want to learn another system or not? I find it kind of fun, so I do it, but that's a lame excuse for a lot of people. I think it's really cool, but I wouldn't go and invest in a large CMRI system today, even though I can get the boards and the parts online, probably from people selling them, or there's a few sellers, but the cost, we did a cost analysis of this actually, and LCC won out by a pretty big margin, just because cost per, pick your metric, cost per pin or cost per bit or cost per light, whatever you want to say. It doesn't take long to justify the investment, but so I would say, do a spreadsheet, figure it out, go online, look at the pricing, figure out what you want to spend and what you're comfortable doing. Any other questions, general questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so on the modules underneath it, say you have 3 rails running, red, yellow, and blue,
Yeah.
and underneath you have to connect each one. Now, just one of those on the modules will help out, go with, tell one module if you have them all throughout.
I'm not quite sure I understand the mapping. So you're talking about the
Track or.
the track?
Yeah.
Answer that question. The layout, 6 boosters. Okay. The red line is a booster. The blue line's a booster, the yellow line's a booster. Each one has to have its own booster. They're all run by the same command station, but there's the power districts. We have 6 of them. We got 3 going in one direction, 3 going in the other direction. And at the opposite end where the command station, they don't go through.
Right.
They stop right there. So that way, what we did there was the reliability of making sure we had enough power to run everybody's trains without seeing the train slow down or not respond. Right, it's still only one command station. So don't, the power lines, the red, yellow, blue, are power, not network. Okay.
Right.
The network is the DCC or the
Right.
or the LCC network. So you got like 5 wires all together. If you put 2 different networks in. Yeah. Okay. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Great.
We have up here some new hardware that we can show you. We have a TCS command station, the 6105. This is TCS's answer to this problem. It's both LCC and DCC in one box. We also have a new Prodigy system, which I think is, what's that? This is an old one, but the command station prototype is over here, right? This is a gateway. So, oh yeah, that's right. This is a gateway product. So this connects LCC to an older DCC system. So there's a lot going on. I mean, technology-wise, there's the folks that are developing this stuff are seeing the reason, the justification, and the need to cross-connect systems and make things easier. Wouldn't it be nice to have a system that you didn't have to throw away your throttles? Right? You could keep the throttles you like and then just use a new system. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Those are usually expensive.
So that's one question I have. So typically on SADAR modules, right, we have a bus in a sense for the plugs that we're plugging into with the wired throttles, right? And that's a lens type thing. So then if someone has NC, those are proprietary, right? So does LCC come into play in regards to that? Do you replace, does down the road, do you replace that if you're doing a new They have just like these combined things.
So-
Do you know, I always wondered, I thought that was part of what,
So it's not part of LCC directly. LCC supports the messages that you need if you're gonna run a locomotive. And it has messages for things like throttle settings, right? And the companies, the manufacturers can have elected to create sort of bridge products. Which in this case, this is a LCC on one side and MRC on the other. MRC has its own throttle. This is a factory, this is a commercial MRC throttle.
but
Which,
that uses a proprietary
right,
thing to talk to its
But they have-
command station, right?
they have translators that can translate it to
Oh, you will
LCC.
be, okay.
Yeah.
So it does, can be
It doesn't-
involved in that, and that's.
The issue there is, it depends on how much the manufacturers want to be jerks about it. Because they don't open their product standards for their throttles, people reverse engineered them. Some have.
Yeah.
Some have, some are afraid of lawyers and so they stay away from it, but, technically it's possible. It's a business problem, not a
Yeah,
technical
that's why I
problem.
remember LCC. That's what I thought it was related to, because I know
Yeah.
the manufacturers have that other, since we're running, we've got the commands for the locomotives, like you said, that's the DCC. But then we've got that other code, I guess it's a type of bus that is
Right.
connecting any wired throttles, right? And then, so that's why I thought maybe that was in part of it, but then it seemed like, as you said, it's more with signals and
Yeah.
turnaround control, right? Things like.
On my radar is a new TCS handheld throttle because they make it so you can talk to other systems. So you have one throttle you put in your operating, session bag and use it anywhere. And I know it works with NCE, Lens, or will work with Lens. MRC,
As a throttle, it's just working through Wi-Fi.
right,
Their control station
Right.
converts NCE inputs
but
to their control, so you can plug in an NCE throttle to their brain and run their trains with you.
But they also have translation built in because a friend of ours, Tom Nelson, he brings his TCS throttle to Bruce's layout, which is just NCE wireless. And he uses his TCS throttle with Bruce's layout. So they've translated the Wi-Fi with the wireless to use that layout, which is pretty cool. So anyway, fun stuff. Dan, do you want to go through your setup here? Because you've got a pretty cool bunch of technology here.
I want to give some background first. Not an LCC, or was not an LCC fan. The problem is many years ago, there was a very large DCC working group meeting in England. And this is at a time when all the manufacturers from the United States and Europe and everybody got together because we were trying to expand DCC. And the NMRA technical department chair approached the meeting with a question. Should we, LCC was just invented, being invented. Should we have the LCC and the DCC working group working as a team? And the vote was, I think there were 2 abstains and everybody else said yes. He went home, talked to his brother and decided to keep them separate. At that point in time, the DCC working group broke up because the Europeans said, look, if we're going to vote for something and you're just going to go the other way, we have no interest. And that's where it stood for years. The problem, and I'll take exception there, I can do everything that you can do under LCC and perform under a Lens command station with their proprietary feedback. Their express net's open, but their feedback bus, nobody else does, and it's proprietary. And they had years and years ago what they called the tower unit, which did all the macros. Of course, they discontinued it. But it did all the macros and allowed you to do all that types of stuff. And the largest layout in the world is using that technology still today with full accessory decoders and signals and all the rest of the stuff. So it can be done. Question is, should it be done? The reason I did not like LCC was exactly why the hub is using it. I have a DCC system, I have an LCC system, and they don't talk to each other. And so I have to decide what is an LCC thing or what is the DCC thing. And that gets very confusing and very hard to integrate. And because they don't talk, it makes things really difficult. What changed were two companies, TCS, and now surprisingly so, MRC. MRC would have been the last person I would expect to do anything creative. It is an LCC system. So LCC and DCC are one. It's totally integrated. It doesn't, everything basically is an LCC command, and the command station translates the LCC into packets that go over the track. What I have here, and it's never been shown before, and by the way, the manufacturers didn't know to do this. And I was getting all sorts of emails about, no, you can't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and all the rest of this stuff. But you can. And this is a Prodigy system, and the Prodigy system is connected to the track, and so I can do things like, I was doing things.
I turned it, hit F8, so.
Oh, you turned it on.
Yeah.
Oh, F8, turn it back on. There we go. So I can control. I mean, that's your traditional affairs, Prodigy. But now I can go over using a lens handheld. I think when you did, you did it, I think you may have reset the system. So let me just reset the system.
Hey, reset.
No, there's a bug in there that we discovered.
Oh.
And I have to wait a second to come forward.
So you go live, so you can see all the ugliness.
Okay, I am controlling the locomotive at this point.
I didn't do it.
The MRC gateway is not quite production yet. We thought we had found all the bugs, and then I started doing this, and I found one or two more. It's supposed to be out in the spring. They're also doing a wireless throttle that's LCC based, and they're doing a command station that's LCC based. Yes.
That gateway gonna be, is that basically the same thing as the looking at LCC gateway?
I get confused on the local net gateway as far as exactly what it is. When I talked to Dick Bronson, no, it's not the same, but I think it may be. So I'm confused on that, on that. Because what this gateway is doing is any throttle command, it translates to LCC, and any LCC command, it translates back to throttle. And so it's all your DCC packets at this particular point are going out on the LCC network, which is something, oh, that's sacrilege, you shouldn't do that. But nevertheless, for this configuration, and the reason they did this box is they're coming up with this new wireless throttle, but there's absolutely no way to use this new wireless throttle on their existing Prodigy system. So they had to come up with a gateway to allow your wireless, and you can also use GCS wireless throttles. Because the thing that LCC was promising, which they had never delivered on, wasn't signals and accessory codes. It was interchanging the flux. It was the ability to go back and forth between all of that was the promise. But when they separated, nobody worked together. Now, I'm not using the TCS as the command station at this point. And that's the feature set that they have that I'm trying to get changed. All this is a cheap macro generator. And it also connects to Lens, or I could have had this done the same thing with an NC drive. I did have it in a different thing, but it's too hard to change. 2 command stations running on the LCC network for like 2 different layouts or 2 different sections of the layout. Both command stations were generating packets. And again, from any of any of the throttles, I can generate 2 things. Again, why would you want to do that? Oh, you can't do that. Well, of course you can't. The issue is integration between the two is the only way to go, in my opinion. The reason I got involved with this was the Seashore Trolley Museum, has a new layout. It's a wonderful building. The joke is, what does a very rich widow do when her husband dies with his novel relative? Well, clearly, the only thing to do is to build a brand new building and transport it to the. So the building is A1 plus, the layout, and you see. The buildings. But they want to do automation. And there's really a simple thing that they wanted to do. You push a button and something happens. And when I started doing that with the existing DCC systems and looking around, that really simple concept was a really difficult thing to do. And the problem that the US manufacturers, again, this was self-imposed by themselves, real men, she said real women as well, real men don't do automation. So none of them support automation. Whereas the Europeans, nobody can provide a system in Europe that doesn't do automation. So it was this question of how do I do automation with some of these existing systems, and it was just too difficult. And I came along and talked to TCS at the show in Springfield, and also MRC approached me about their system that they were doing in Springfield, and it was clear that's coming at age. Because I don't want to just do signals. I want the signal to tell the train to stop. And right now, if I have a LCC system and DCC system, can't do it. But with the new detectors that they're building, which are LCC connected to the tower unit as well, they'll use the RailCom to say, oh, locomotive 35 is in front of the red signal, stop it. Or if I'm going over a grade crossing, I've got steam engines, I've got diesel engines, I want to not blow a horn for the steam engine, and I don't want to blow a whistle for the. It's a simple concept, but it's difficult to do. With LCC integrated, train goes over, the RailCom says, oh, this is locomotive 35, locomotive 35 happens to be a steam engine, I'll blow the whistle. That's the type of thing I was trying to get to. So what's happening here, a different way, is this is the tower unit. I don't know if you can see when I push one of these buttons, the light goes on. And get the fact that it's going the wrong direction because this was set up as a set third unit in the unit, and it will eventually move. And that's a macro set of macros that are sitting in this command station. And can you bring up the LCC commands? Debugging the macros was a pain in the butt until we discovered that this thing can be set up as a non-DCC command station and can then generate all of these packets across the network. Because and a larger, even a small layout, when I'm running on a real railroad, I really like running as an extra. Because when I run as an extra, I have to worry about the other trains that are on the layout, or the other trains that are actually running on the railroad, and keep out of their way and be able to work accordingly. Well, I can, with a single person in automation, have like a plasma train that runs on a schedule around the layout, and you're a local, and running as extra, and you've got to keep out of its way and keep doing your work. So combining automation and running as well as together to me makes a lot of sense. Why do we go? That's the version of
Enterprise is the LCC.
it's been there forever. It's only, yeah, but you have to be, here's the stupid part about it. You have to be, have connected to LCC to be able to use it. It's, and when we were connecting to, this is still being evolved. We got back on the, fund support, and it came out ahead of bugs, so we had to fix it. New music doing hot. So that's fine. Nobody ever tested. That's now working, but I'm trying to, over the last 6 months, is we find trying things that keep them done. We find that it's show up, we're sending the files, just watching them out and.
Make something happen.
Okay, so when I push again this button. Oh, you don't have it up? That's strange. Okay, well, he's not, Eric is, on my PC at home, I'm having.
Oh, I know. I had to switch the simulator because I was debugging out the module, so I had to go back and tell it to the LCC instead.
And this is another feature that I want TCS to try to implement. Is when I'm trying to debug macros, I want to see all the DCC commands, or they're not DCC, they're LCC commands for locomotives. I want to see all those commands on the LCC monitors, so I can see what's happening, and I can therefore fix the problems that need to be fixed. They've got this concept that all locomotive commands should only go, it shouldn't bother going to the LCC side. But now they're coming out with a new decoder. When they showed it the national, they hope to have a test version we can either do it at Springfield. It's an LCC DCC decoder. So I can run it DCC, or I can run it with a wireless handheld. It says, yeah, but I want to do one more. I want to take my lens throttle on my network at home, and I want to be able to run the locomotives while it's in LCC with a battery backup. And so to do that, they've got to translate. They got to send those commands across the LCC network so that the LCC network can control. Otherwise, there's no way for the lens throttle to, if it makes any sense, to send that to the commands.
What you're experiencing, what you're watching me do is experiencing the frustrations of railroad.
The other problem with LCC is Eric talked about the documentation. Documentation is actually excellent if you know what you're doing. The reference manuals. So if you know what you're doing, you can go back to the reference manual and say, oh yeah, this is what I was supposed to do. If you don't know what you're doing, that helps.
So welcome to the world of LCC packets.
Okay, so we got an LCC packet. So let's try this again. Okay, so what you're seeing out here as it goes through the macros is you can see some of the like set F2 to 1 that was turning on the whistle or the horn, F2 to the speed step of 55. Now I'm speed step of 0. I'm stopping the locomotive, and we're waiting for an event, and then it will come back and the horn. So that's a series of LCC commands combined with locomotive commands and showing you different macros between this device, the the macros are sitting in here, and the locomotive is being run by an RC system. So the MRC system. This is the command station. It is, sorry, stupid old little prodigy. It's worthless. The decoder in this, yeah, can only do DCC. Eventually, it's got to get to the track, or I could have a signal head here that was not connected to the track, and then it would never go to the track. It would just do the signals.
Well, to find a point, the throttle messages that are going on to that, the encoder, are going over LCD, so everyone sees the message.
I mean, if I push the okay, let's back up. It's not, it should be sending the command, and it's not. So and I don't know why, and I won't try to debug it. Maybe there is a minor. I suspect I just have to reset the system, and I don't want to bother you. That was the bug that we found 2 days ago.
Right.
But it's all the commands are going to everybody can see it. So somebody else could say, oh, when the horn is turned on, maybe I should do something else over. I could turn on the grade crossing blinkers because the train is approaching.
Right.
It's whatever your imagination wishes it to do. Yes, sir.
So you push the button,
Yep.
that triggered macros and TCS.
Well, first off, triggered things in this itself, because there's another light here that
Right.
is
In the list there, what's the line that says this knows pin?
if you look at the first event,
That right?
and that starts the whole thing.
Now, all the way to the left, 2.1.457, that's the node ID. Right,
That's the address.
the address of that board, right?
Well, I actually been using the 0101, the event ID is the one that I've been ignoring.
Oh, okay. So then, could you show on here where you program that pin to do something?
Okay, if he goes in to configure the tower unit.
So is that derails your train?
No.
Of whatever.
No.
That's what I.
Okay, so that's what's on the LCC network at this point. And if he opens up the railroad circuits one. Right there. And you open up the configuration dialog. And then I was just talking and getting all the information from it.
Puking up his guts. This is all the information that's inside that node.
It's just.
Okay, as you go
Same as
to,
reading a decoder.
yeah,
Right.
I go to Port IO, I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this just says like line 1, click on that one. I think that's what you want. Yeah,
Push button.
that's a lot, that's the description. And you can say the output, it's not an out, it's an input, because input button. And it has events it's going to turn on, because once you push the button, you don't want the people to keep on pushing the button and having things go on. So basically, by putting on the veto, I'm telling it, turn off this push button for now. And the corresponding, if you go up to the light, it's looking for that same thing that this push button was pushed, and I'm going to turn off the light. And the third thing is over in the macro or the command station, it's looking for that same event and said, oh, this push button is pushed, let me start the macros. So 3 different things are happening because I pushed that button.
So now, one of the commands, I'm pushing that button, is turning the LED red, right?
Well,
Or,
no, it's not all the command is saying, do something.
oh, yeah, but
And the light says, oh, the do something, I'll turn off the light. If I see that do something coming.
I wasn't sure if, because it seemed to push it, the light turns red.
Right.
But I wasn't sure if that's built into the hardware.
No,
That
that's-
or
that's-
turn this LED on the pin red.
it turns, it
So where
turns
does
it off.
that command on? Is that-
Okay, it's gone to light to, 9, it's 9.
It's very bottom, actually, that one, and then if you push the button, it creates that event.
Oh, okay,
It
oh,
creates 66. Now, if you go up to the light, which is 9,
That's on mine, so line 9 responds to 66, so you can run the 66.
it would be a state change. It says, oh, when this occurs, go to event 2. I don't know.
I'm on 9, that's what you want.
No, you're on. Yes, you are.
Okay.
Light button, relay, okay, yep. So go down to, it's a output. And
So steady.
it's event. When it sees the 06, it's going to, it's reverse logic because I have to turn on a relay to turn off the light.
So I should be the best too as well.
And there's event 2. So it's just looking for these 2 events.
That turns out.
so the command is the button push. Action is what happens after.
Right.
So then you would get event 2 under actions, right? You show a red light.
Or you produce, the button produces a number, and that number is consumed by this button, by this light to turn on the light or off.
See, the button pushing doesn't tell you what's gonna happen when you push it.
I understand that the one button push does a bunch of things.
But it's
I
not
was
the
just
button
One
push.
push is one thing, it generates one word. And it sends that really a whole number. You know, a whole bunch of things can.
Listen to
it. Do stuff.
Right. And then that starts the macro going.
Yeah, and it starts the, where you saw that red photo on it, it turned on, it was somebody else that was listening.
So then. Push the button, it's the command. Is that a producer or what's the?
No, it's an output. It's just, when I push this button,
Button is the producer.
it has produced a command, which is listened by everybody. And different people will do different things, whatever they want to do when they see that command. Right now, there's 2 things that are happening. This is listening for that command to turn on the macro. The other light is listening for that command to turn on the relay, which is going high. And that took me a long time to figure out that I didn't have to do 17 of these commands. I could just have one command and everybody listens to it. And whoever wants to do something, will do something.
That's the learning part.
That's the learning.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. I take NCD, DCC, handheld controller, and it tells me what to do and it does a bunch of stuff for me. I'm looking at this saying, oh my God, I never look
Oh, but you see,
at this. Something simple.
it is simple in the sense of I'm on the lens throttle now, and I'll do a turnout, and I think, oops, sorry, get control. Turnout, I think this is address 7.
The manual somewhere that you can read up on this and take some action because this is like.
But most of it is transparent to the user. Yeah, I crashed this again.
Setting up the steps.
It's the setting up the steps of what you want to do is programming. And what they don't have today is pre-defined sets of programs. Or a wizard to say, I want to do this, 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 and it sets up the program. Those are some of the things that they want to do. And then now TCS, there's a computer program, what's it called? I can't remember the German program.
Oh, train controller.
There's train controller. It's sort of the same type of thing where it's consuming things. And you just tell it a little bit high level what to do and it translates all the program. What TCS claims is going to be out because they're under contract to produce it is a similar program to do the same thing with LCC. So that you give it the high level, this is what I want to do, and it generates and does all of but there's still programming today. And that's one of the
So,
downsides.
so the good news is what you're seeing here. This is a Panel Pro, which is a open source piece of software on JMRI. This is what the developers found the easiest way to get a way to control the programming LCC. This is not the only way. There's nothing that says you have to use Panel Pro to run.
Bring up 105. I think that will help answer.
With software. We expect that a little. That's moving your systems like it's equal.
No. You're gonna find, what I'm finding is new people. I hate to say it. A lot of these DCC systems are legacy at this point.
That's me too.
There are some things that can be done, and there's no reason why one of these boxes could not be built for NCE. But basically, NCE has to want to have that done. I approached Lens and said, hey, we're not interested. And that's the missing piece for NCE at this point, is one of these boxes that translates LCC into NCE. That's a missing piece. What? Well, no, this is an NRC project.
Yeah, no, but the.
Yeah, well, that may be, it talks to NCE, but you're not really integrated to NCE. This is a full integration in NCE or into NRC. But I can have because see, if I use this, I got to replace the NCE band station. If I use this approach, I'm using the legacy system. So if you want to continue to use your legacy system, you buy this little box, but that's only available now for this legacy system. Do other people follow? Depends on the market. If the market demands it, they'll do it. Okay, pull up macros and go to macro 7. That's an easy one. Reload. So this is the where you don't have to program. You're on 7.
Please.
It's load macro editors. Right there.
This one here.
Yep,
7.
7. Then refresh all at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Macro check. MRC macro test.
So it's got these 10 steps in the macro. And you're programming not with the assembly language, or you're saying, and I'm not even sure step 1. Yeah, it's locomotive number 41. And then I'm actually going to go to another macro someplace like 4 or 5. No. I mean, step 4 or 5. I just can't remember which macro I go to.
Select logo, step 5 unused.
120. So what I can do in one macro, I can go to another macro. And this was just, I didn't want to change all the macros, so I got a different way of executing. So if I go now to 120, In other words, I can do programming without really doing programming. I'm just saying the sequence of events I want to have happen. I want to turn on the horn, so it's whatever the sequence, and what I'm missing is, it would be nice if I just go to my handheld and push the buttons and it just translates it into the program. So it's built up, it's easy to do, then it does. Does that answer your question? So I'm saying programming, but it's not programming. It's saying, these are the steps I wanted to have to do. But that's, LCC is such that he's using a Panel Pro, and it's the system is telling Panel Pro how it likes to be programmed. So you, the user, don't have to know anything about that. The system comes up with these simple commands, and the pull-down menu is whatever the device wants you to allow you to do. So if I pull up the MRC gateway, it's a totally different set of steps that you want to do with it, because it doesn't have that. I'm sure.
And the challenge is like, this looks like the election boosted. You don't know what this system is either, right? You've got addresses, you've got phrases.
But they're the same addresses.
Well, no, I understand, but I'm trying to say that
Yeah.
this looks confusing to anybody that's not used to it.
But the step is just like on your handheld, you're selecting 41. Then what do you want to do with 40? I want to turn on the horn. I want to then wait a period of time. And then I want to turn off the horn. Then I want to turn maybe I want to do 2 horns because that's a start. Then I want to set the speed. So it's commands that you're used to, but yes, there is a learning curve.
And that's what I'm saying, this,
Yeah, there is a
I mean,
learning.
I'm saying, there's a lot of other information here, because that's a very customizable program, right? Isn't that part of it? You're using a more general purpose. Like you were saying, if there was a wizard that stepped through, it could use like more. Like,
And here's another thing that they're missing, which is again, it needs to do. If I do a set of macros, boy, it would be nice to export it to Word or one of those programs. So I could go in and just do all of the copy paste, do all those things and load it back. No, but that's coming.
I was kind of, it's what you were saying earlier, but you're saying, would it be, you're saying it'd be nice to understand this. It's like, yeah, it would be nice, because you can buy that node, that tower, and it will come with some instructions, airport instructions, or you can, but like Stan said, they're like a reference.
It's a reference manual, yeah,
If
not a
you
user guide.
Go through it and say, hey, do you want him to do something super simple? Here's how you do it. This is the tab you go under, this is the tab you go under. He doesn't really cover that. It's more of like references, assuming you already know it. So that's kind of where.
That's the downside.
That's
Yeah,
the.
that's the missing piece, yeah. I mean, I'll point out that back in the day, if you were building a CMRI system, you need to learn Visual Basic.
Yeah.
And actually write basic programs to anything. So now, actually, I think I would much prefer a compiler than a GUI, but most people, I'm weird, so most people would have to see a GUI. And it'd be great if we had the option to jump in and just write code, because I could see that, but
But see, with the TCS system, I didn't, unless I want to do automation.
Yeah.
I just plugged it in. I have to just tell the command station that I want to use lens throttles rather than NC throttles or no throttles. And once I configure with the command station, I just plug the stuff in. They're wireless throttles. I don't have to do anything. It's done in the background. So that they've done so far. It's the automation piece that is still requires a lot of thought. But that will change.
I have a question regarding just kind of the overall like logic that the best person doing this has to go through. Because I've heard that it's like, this is, you almost need to rewire how you think about programming something when it comes to LC.
Jeff.
So, and again, I'm derailing anything you guys, are- I talk to you guys all the time, so you can say we'll talk about it another time. But I'm used to programming the other hardware from our circuits, like the regular towers, the signal man tower, whatever, and it's pretty simple where it's like, you're putting in DCC addresses for the most part, you're gonna control turnouts, the tortoise machines.
Right.
But, let's say they have a logic tab, like their signal man ports, not the LCC ones, the other ones, but where you go in and say, if this address is executed, this target red, this turnout, whatever, like this, if this
Right,
block address
Right.
is a high,
right.
this, that. And is that kind of the same logic you're doing with this, just in a different,
Yeah,
different numbers? and-
just the GUI is a little bit weird to do it in.
Yeah.
It's a little bit cumbersome in that regard.
But in the end, you're still attaching block occupancy units to the pins on the
Yeah.
node.
Yeah.
You're going in here and saying these pins are set for a, whatever you call them, bot force or bot inputs, whatever.
Right,
But what is, I guess, normally when you do that, you're seeing regular numbers, right? A regular
Right,
accessory address.
right.
Throwing a hair or something. What does it look like on here?
There-
Does it look like those IP
There's,
addresses?
there's the IP address, essentially,
Okay.
yeah.
But
Not really.
you don't
Package.
actually have to know the number,
No, yeah.
because you just copy and paste those numbers.
Yeah,
Right, right.
or you can give them names. I mean, I know one thing you have to do, which is, well, you don't have to, but I mean, to get your head around it, is you just sort of have to make a map. What events am I interested in? And what are those addresses I have to remember or put in the tool or get from the tool? There's nowhere to go to do that, but you sort of have to get organized because it's not super obvious, it takes a little bit of fumbling around in the menus to find where to put it. I mean, like I said, this is just one way of accessing the LCC programming. There's no reason why somebody couldn't get on the ball and write some much better software. The cool thing is the underlying system is still there. It's just that you just put a better window dressing on it. I'm waiting for that to happen because it'd be nice.
But see, now, go back to using the lens thing I got a block activating detector. I just hook it up to the feedback unit and I already know what its address is going to be and what I want to do with it.
So
In
how-
this system, it's a little more complicated right now because the tower is doesn't know, it has inputs and outputs, they don't care. So when I hook up the block oxygen sector tower, I have to go into the tower and say, this is an input or an output. And this is what's going to happen when that input or output occurs. And that's an extra thought process rather than just saying, this is pre-configured, or the manufacturer says, load this program into your tower and it's going to automatically do everything. Because these are all pieces, there's no reason that you have to go back and redo this. You could have libraries that you just load the library and it sets it all for you.
Yes, Peter.
Sorry, I'm asking. But so let's say you have a DCC layer
Yeah,
and turnouts controlled by your throttle, right? But you want to interface LCC with your existing layer. What does it look like when you say accessory 15 enter one?
As you just,
How does it show up on?
it's a session, on the macro, can you pull down on like step one? Any step,
Or even like, well, actually, you can try it.
step to step. And then it goes down, what do you want to use? So right where it says unused, click on it, and it'll tell you if there's a DCC terminal, reverse, link a macro. These are the things that this unit implements. If I had another in it, it'd be different. Because this unit is telling the panel, these are the things in the pull down. So I can, so it's just like the DCC things, select the locomotive, turn on the function, and the function numbers are the same function numbers. It does the translation for you. But you're still, if you're automation, you still have to say, this is what I want to do. It can't take it in your brain, and it's got to, you've got to go through the steps.
Peter,
Yeah, is this have one or two buses?
Right now, let's see, I have, how many buses do I have?
well, there's LCC,
There's LCC and there's
There's
MRC.
MRC throttle bus, and there's a DCC trap. That's DCC.
Did you have a second bus?
You have a second bus for throttles.
But yeah, okay, but that's the one that's like telephone.
Yeah.
Okay, so two buses. Is there a third bus now, just the LCC or the?
Yeah.
The DCC and the LCC?
It replaces,
Well,
if you were going with a TCS only solution, just to make it simple, I would have a TCS command station, I would have an LCC network. That was all I would have,
well, that,
because the wireless throttles are from TCS, only a TCS solution. They're wireless and they're Wi-Fi, and they don't use any hardwire network as well. I have an extra network on this because I want to use the legacy lens throttles, and they support the legacy lens throttles, but through a, it plugs in. That's just translating that plug
Wiring.
into that.
Yeah.
Plug.
So now, when I have a phone, I
Right.
don't have LCC.
Right.
If I want to incorporate LCC on my way,
The easiest way,
well, let me get my thought.
okay,
I would have two separate distinct circuits. I have my DCC with on my lanes. And I have this other thing, the phone switches and running signals and stuff, with LCC, correct?
one way, my advice
Well,
would not to be to sell your lens command station and buy either an MRC or a TCS system to replace the command station. Use the same power stations, but just use, and then you're just plugging in and you're doing nothing to your existing system.
yeah, because you don't need to change your, like, you have accessory decoder, this is Sam's point earlier about. You have accessory decoders, DCC decoders for your switch machines. You can just have the LCC system send a DCC command to those, you don't have to replace them.
Now, what I would like lens to do would have become one of these little boxes. Because then I just plug that little box into their
Right.
computer interface port, and you're done. But Lens doesn't do that. So right now, if you really want to incorporate LCC and without having to do all this double program.
but I'm not gonna never do that.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. It's simple.
I'm pretty neophyte when it comes to doing stuff. I want to start learning about it. See, the simplest way would be to buy what I need to start, simply just to throw switches, let's say, on my way.
Okay, now, here's the question. When you say you want to throw switches, what is in your hand to throw that switch?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If it's a lens throttle, or talking to a lens command station, there is no existing interface on the market today to connect it to LCC.
And that,
So you can't,
my switches now are controlled by.
right, and then,
That will work with the LCC.
yes, or you,
Switch or button.
or you could use a DCC decoder and you don't have to change anything.
Right, but I mean, if I put in like, I've got, Team Digital, I think, software and logic.
Right.
So in the, channels.
Right.
Which I can do with a handheld, with the stuff. But I've got a bunch of switches out on the main line, let's say I want to run the LCC.
Right.
I can take, instead of the LCC network, with whatever I need. to buy.
You can buy just one of these.
Why not do I control that switch or push that button?
Right,
I control the turnout.
correct.
Yep.
I can take that away from.
So you'd have to buy one of these. One of these, which interfaces to the computer that allows you to do things and, push buttons that are wired into these.
But once I get them, then I got the path and understand of what's going on out there, then I could think about really.
Yeah, Dick sells a starter kit, it's just that. It's a computer interface, one node, wires you need. I think you have to add the telltales, but. It's done it for this, it's what it does. Right. If you don't have
But
decoders
the
now.
downside of doing that is the LCC system and the DCC system are two different systems on your layout. They do not talk to each other.
But you are offloading some of that signal onto the LCD, right? If you're telling us the DCC is busy, so it's not.
The largest layout in the world is using it's the one in, Germany. Yeah, out the Hamburg. That is using lens, and that is not having any problem whatsoever on the packets on the network. A lot of the time, the crashes not because they're building products.
So if you have an existing setup,
Yeah,
you can do it, you said you can do most everything.
you don't.
What triggers going?
Well, the reason I'm going LCC on our layout at home is I want to use the TCS wireless routers.
Yeah.
And, they have two methods. One that they go to the NC at this point is a company in Australia that provides support that kind of LCC. They're building it for plug into the NC bus that can do it. But that's why I would, because I don't do that with automation.
What do you do for throttles? Still coming.
I've got wireless throttles, but I'm using Bluetooth. Bluetooth 5 would have no problem doing our whole layout, but Europe requires Bluetooth 5 to run at half power. And guess what? We have about half an hour. So, and I can't have the ability to change that one line of code in my thing to go to full pop that. Whereas a TCS, I can be out the street and control.
Just want to sit on the deck and control it from there.
Well, control it, that is no problem. It's in controlling it up and up to your tops.
Right now, we control the switches with DCC. Well, I don't even control it with DCC right now, it's the photography. I'm looking at, once you get them a dispatch station, they're following something on the computer, so I'll have to use a panel for it. Right, so it's up to the program switches.
So
I have all of that off the DCC system and put it on the LCD.
here's the thing though, it's proprietary versus open. If you want to do it cheaply with your push buttons, Lens sells a push button entry box that you put your push buttons on, and it controls the accessories associated with that thing. No, but that's again a proprietary solution. If you're trying to stay open, you could go LCC. But I personally, I know Eric disagrees with me. I don't like separate two systems. I find it very confusing, and you just can't do what I want to do. But that just
With that, where the boat was? Said almost all, when you devoted, you wanted to
No,
combine.
we never,
No, but I'm saying that we were discussing that meeting where we said, let's combine, and then didn't happen. So I'm saying, so there was obviously a benefit if everybody thought there was a benefit way back when.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that is, but it's just a
But
right now,
now-
we have
No,
a lot
I
of
was at-
systems that are.
now they're starting to combine on the own. But it took us an awful lot of years to do that.
let me clarify one important point, so I'm being dissed here. My vision for the module group was set two things on the course to integrate together at some point in the future, not waiting until
Right.
magically everything was solved for you, because if you wait, it never happens.
Right.
So you sort of plan ahead, get the ship pointed in the right direction, and then when we get there, okay, now we can, so, we've got.
So the module group, if they wanted to combine, would just buy one of these boxes
Yeah.
and
I have no,
sell their lens system, not the
No.
not the power station.
it's just a command
nothing
station.
else.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have every intention
Right.
of working over everyone so we can so we can buy one of these, because I don't wanna have separate, in fact, I wanna take the old, well, actually, we've already added an LCC network. Layout, no one knows about it's yellow. Right. It's blue and white, now it's yellow. But I have a vision of adding another line around layout to add, because now you have choice. Right. Like the module members can decide, what do I want to, and they'll have all the options built. Correct. Except for CMRI, that's going to be thrown out. That's stupid. No, it wasn't. It prototyped the system. It gave us the vision, but we're going to implement else.
Those are the Chuck boards.
And that's actually what we did with Seashore as well. They're nowhere near ready to take that, but we wanted to be in on the right track. Which is why we started them out on TCS.
Yes, sir.
I will just comment to Peter, I did exactly what you talked. I didn't sell it LCC bus, right? No ballot in general, I had a very much like, oh, so we put 300 in the car. The problem that happened was, I wanted to put it there, I fire up my laptop, take the cable off, so I can go turn it. So my answer is, well, I'll create a control panel with push buttons. So then I can just push the button, which I've got. But now if I'm somewhere else in the base system, I gotta run over the push buttons, push button, like I could turn all over the place. So I think that's, my head's starting to go where Stan's at, is I wanna do it for the one thing I have in my doing, which is my flaws. Obviously, that would be the ultimate goal and the higher. But because the hardware hasn't caught up with that, I think we can. And I'm not gonna get rid of all my lens stuff, I got too much yesterday.
All you're talking about is a command station. All you're talking about is a command station. All the rest of the stuff stays.
Yeah, even the mouse, those.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
That's
stays.
the command station.
Oh, yeah. Just that one box. Yeah.
So I've got control of that, so I will. But like, any place I've got an major activity going, I was gonna be. There's control there. And right now, it's probably switch to control this, but I suspect if I do anything else, you see, I'm probably gonna have to turn it over to the push buttons. But maybe not, I don't know. Maybe, but the panels are still leaving. And even if I do have a dispatcher sitting in the hole in the back room, to do the dispatching and trying to get the operating settings. I don't want to use that. And we still run it from the level.
I got a question. So in your discussions with the manufacturers, you didn't need kind of a sense of when there's gonna be on market, or what market's gonna demand. Enough, so that.
TCS is on the market today. MRC is in the market. The TCS, there's a New Jersey layout. Do you remember the name of that, the large one? No, there's a big model railroad layout that's open to the public. You have to pay to get in.
Sounds like.
Okay. Northlight. They have contracted with TCS to automate their system, and they're doing LCC. And the nice thing about it is they have that same concern. And so they are building a computer program that brings the programming away and gives you more steps that you want to do, and it will do all the automation. Probably these backwards is possible, but it's not work. And it's a lot easier if you got the software.
So they're making a
The railroad and company version for LCC.
So, to your panels, so one of the reasons why I chose to go with LCC to go with the panels and the water group is you have, a physical panel in front of you. That's got the push buttons and the lights, and it controls turnouts. But once that panel joins the network, you can replicate that panel anywhere in the software. And so you can have, and then you put that panel anywhere because it's still has on the network. Get where it is. The way we did it was we just took this tower node. The push buttons go into here. Right? So it creates
button events. We happen to use, the Fair Hill, triggers, which could be the LED that flips right in green. So you just touch the touch trigger, it sends an event to or it creates the event. We have, another one of these underneath the modules with all the turnouts put in. So now, okay, he says, throw, turnout 4. So it's just a mapping, and now it's a mapping problem, which is a complicated problem, but mapping problem of taking these events, make the plan look right, and then do the right thing out in the layout. But it was simple because you just one of the switches into this. And now the switches have, widespread use anywhere on that. Right, you can do other things. You can say, oh, I threw the turnout off the main line into the yard. So throw a signal that says, hey, stop, or you can stop the train before it, cranes into the yard or whatever, do all those things. But there's no additional work to be programming at this point now to add the feature. There's no more hardware built. So that's the trade-off with the advantage.
You need two of those things, one to learn, one of those is sitting by the panel, and the other one is sitting downloading actions.
Yes, yeah, there's
You
two.
don't need to, but if you're gonna avoid the wiring, that's why you put.
Yeah, I wanted,
Cause I could have run all those wires around, but it's a lot easier just to buy another one of those nodes, put that node where you want it, and you wire this much rather than wire lots of.
yeah, the panels hang up. The panels hang on the back of the yard module. When we pack up the module, we don't want anything hanging there, it'll get broken, so we take it off, unplug 2 jacks, done. That makes it easy, and then all this wiring is underneath. So there's these daisy chains, all the turnouts. So one of these plugs into one of these, and eight turnouts from this one, and 8 turnouts from this one. This guy runs 16 turnouts from one location.
So what are the turn? Big buildings, so all the turnouts have a particular socket. They put them in and you go down.
So in this particular case, I used the tortoise quick links from RR Circuits. It's a little plug board that plugs on the back of a tortoise, and it's got this connector in and the tortoise connector on the other side, and it gives you that functionality. You can also do it with they have other products that go you can control them turnouts from a central module and fans out to the 8 turnouts. I mean, the ecosystem that Dick has built is amazing. I plugged this in to show you. This is a little LCC power display. Gives you voltage and current on it, and it's not drawing enough to even trigger the current reading. But so for debugging, you can put these around your layout and know what your bus is doing. And these little boards here, these little tests, these little things are additional. We buy these little things to test, but you can add these in and debug your connection, so you can okay, I hit this light lit up, okay, it's good. Or light didn't light up, oh shit, what happened? There's a lot there. You are first. What's that?
What if you don't want to use it?
All right, use something else. Any you can be any number of controllers that will move turnout motors. I know it's really popular now to use the ones from model airplanes, the servos from model airplanes. You can get controllers that will do that. You have a question?
I just wanted to share a couple of things. On the ribbon tables, the ones we used at Seashore have the 10 pin on one end. On the other end, there are Waco connectors, 2-pin Wacos. And they make it very easy to connect up.
Yeah.
The only thing we're kind of missing there is if you're using the power and ground connections out of those 10, you probably don't want a 2-pin Waco, we probably want a 5.
Right.
But those were very convenient for us. And pretty sure you can also get the RR circuits had a breakout.
Yeah, they have a breakout board.
You can screw those stupid little screw terminals in, which drive you nuts.
I actually use the breakout boards to build the panels, so I wanted to be able to make it easy. So there's a 3-pin. I'm a huge Waco convert, by the way. Who's using Wacos on their wiring? Anybody else?
I am, but not on the radio.
Oh my God, they are such a time saver. So, if you want a really quick and easy way to make your track feeders easily detachable, so for debugging, two-pin Wago, beautiful.
The level one.
Is that maybe another name? It's a
Yeah.
little spring-loaded thing. Yeah. I mean, they're rated for house wiring, so you can get them in like, what, 30 amps, you know, so no problem for DCC, right? And they're just quick and easy, and just, you know, I use them everywhere. I am not, no more wire nuts ever, ever again.
Yeah.
Wire nuts break the wire, you can't see it. These are clear, you can see the connection inside each one. Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah, they're all over the place. I use them everywhere.
Would be nice if on more of those things, they thought about using pluggable terminal strips.
Yeah. Our problem with using tortoises in the module group is that the native tortoise connector is a edge connector, and it's an 8-pin edge connector. And tortoises hang upside down on the layout. So gravity is always trying to pull the connector off the tortoise, because the fingers don't have a lot of strength. So the module group went around and they took all those 8-pin fingers and they soldered on 8-pin MOS connectors, which have a square pin, and they use a socket that grabs onto those pins, and those are hard to pull off. I wish there was a better factory solution for that, because it seems kind of dumb to have an edge connector. That's like 70s, you know. And it's, you know, problematic at best.
Just amazing. It was.
Another 10 years of this.
It's like Jim just finally put a modern USB plug on.
Yeah.
System.
Yeah, this is Dick went to USB-C now on the adapter finally. It was USB-B for the longest time. Yeah. So I don't know.
Hopefully within most people go to Springfield. Stop by the MRC or the TCS booth and take a look at some of the stuff that goes on. And the issue again is how to simplify it so that you don't have to know much and you can start using lots of stuff. Remember, most of my stuff that's complicated is because I want to do complicated things. If I just want to run throttles connected to the network, it's just, transparent to you. But they need to, their automation programs, if you want to get it on, they've got to be a lot simpler than that.
Good.
I do have one question, just about, if you decide you want to use it against throttle, you want to use once in the entire system, or use multiple?
Okay, there is on the back of a TCS system. To unplug it. On the back of it is one jack. That one jack can plug into an RS-485 network. It can be a TC, it can be an NCE 485 network, or it can be a Lens 485 network. You can't have both because there's only one plug. And what's on the LCC side is anybody who does LCC. So there's if you happen to have an Apple phone, there's an Apple phone LCC from them. I haven't seen one yet at the end yet. There's the TCS wireless throttles. Shortly, I hope to see the MRC wireless throttles. Certainly by spring.
But the network that express network the same network that you use in both of them.
The NCE, back in the early days, NCE and Lens got together and they were going to have both throttles on the same network. And then Jim had to, we don't do any error control. So Lens could have done supported NCE to an extent. But the problem is all those ExpressNet commands are going to mess up the NCE throttles. And since they never did error control on the network, there's no possible way of putting other things on the network without screwing it up. So it's, it just will never happen. It's one or the other. One from.
Or go to wireless.
Oh, no, go away. And if you're going wireless, these new wireless throttles are the only way to go because they're using a different version than they go to, using 1 megabit per second to, I mean, 10 megabit or 100 megabits. And by doing that, their range is fantastic and the interference is negative.
Just the new wireless level, what makes it system.
Through the ExpressNet interface, yes. Now, there's a few commands that they don't support. They don't, which ones they don't, most of them are configuration commands, which we want to do.
So distributed is pretty small. You gotta show up in Springfield, march your butts over to either MRC or TCS, whichever one you like better. And you say, I'm your target audience, I'm your target market. I'm not buying your products because you don't have the software that makes it easy for me to use. If you say that repeatedly and loudly, eventually they'll hear the message. But the wonderful thing is, and we've experienced this, we've had those discussions with various manufacturers, and they take it pretty seriously. So if you don't show up, you don't look at all, you don't say anything, then nothing will change. If you show up and you say, look, I think this is really cool, but you nerds have made this thing is unusable. Now make it usable, and we'll talk.
But one thing that many people really not TCS now service distributor. So since they a distributor of our service product, but they really say, I'm not the file second, really configure it easily. But you're gonna, the nerds at TCS are gonna say, oh, you gotta do something to make it so us dumb people can just simplify and make it function properly.
And the poor kid that you're talking to that says, oh, but use panel code, you go, I'm not using that stupid program. That's what I'm talking about. It's too hard to use. I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but you can.
There's a disagreement in TCS. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
On this side of the equation, you have a few alternatives. And on this side, you have John Forsythe, who runs the system. John has announced he does not want to have any reliance on panel probe or any, it doesn't matter if you want to use it. He doesn't want to have you required to use it.
Right.
And there's 3 or 4 commands that are only available on that, and that bugs the living daylights out. So he is moving in the direction, he understands what we're looking for. But the nerds don't. I mean, when I told him what I was doing here, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Why would you want to do that? Rather than, oh, gee, that's a kind of thing to do.
Rather than if you want to do that, maybe somebody else does too.
Oh, I already told him the enhancement that I want, because I have to take this and change it from a command station to just a sitting around and doing macros. And there's no reason whatsoever that I had to do that. I just need a configuration in their configuration that transmits the bloody LCC, the DCC command, not command. The instructions that have gone to a DCC decoder, I got to get out of the LCC. So they're getting there, but it's awfully slow.
How much is that box, TCS box?
You don't have to buy the big box. They've also got a small box, which is what, 200, I think. The small one or the big one? 300, okay. And these is around 600 or so?
It's the same. I mean, they look at the price sheets and go, yeah, same as what else. Yeah, same. It's a high end. So nice thing is MRC is then coming in. There's a bit like coming under because they're targeting.
Their market's different. They don't like these. I mean, it's not that they don't like them. That's not their customer base. And the best example in the hub division is who's our past president? James Unlock. He's one of the nicest modelers, most experienced modelers in our group. Didn't know anything about electronics. Doesn't want to know anything about electronics. He uses an MRC system.
Yeah, you know why? Because the entire manual is in the back of the throttle. Everything you want to know how to do, if you can read it, I really can't. Right there.
And so for James, he just has to buy this box and now he can go with the wireless phones. And, you know, he doesn't even have to, he doesn't even know he's going LCC or what LCC is. Which is the beauty when you get there, is he's just buying a converter box for wireless. Oh, and by the way, you can also do all this other stuff, but it's a converter box to allow them to do wireless. Because when MRC looked at the market and they said, LCC is where the market's going, we don't do everything except for once every 10 years anyway. So we want to do something that you can use on a variety of systems. You're not proprietary to MRC. Pretty slow as hell. I mean, you actually build the top. They announced it in Springfield, they're selling in Springfield.
She says next station. Just.
It is much more stable now than it was
Oh, no, it's
6 months to a year.
I just have to buy these 2 boxes to get.
If you just want LCC, you go to Railroad Circuits or TCS, so there is a distributor, where's the box? And you get these things come in a package, and that's all you need.
And the TCS box.
You don't need to buy the TCS. If you just want LCC separate, you buy this component, and it's a single product, and it's a single product, and then you use your JMRI to configure it, and you're off and running into LCC one.
Yeah.
But I warn you, the railroad circuit manuals, we spent 4 hours with, I can't remember the hub member, but all he wanted to do was turn a turnout. And the problem was, what pen is pen 1? They have, there's 20 pens on that thing. And which is pen 1? Yeah.
You look really, yeah, so yeah, pin 1 is pin 10 and pin 10 is pin 1. But
Yes.
the numbering's backwards, I don't know why. Oh, I do know why. That was legacy. This is old tack crews. But actually pin 1 on the cable is actually right there, is a little triangle. Pretty hard to see. All right. 5 minutes to 3. Any other questions? Well, you know where to find us.
Come over to my house and say,
For the right price. You want to move some rocks?
You really need to know much. If you just are using the very simple, it's when you get into the advanced stuff, which is it's gotta be simple, it has to be simple. And there's no choice.
I mean, even if it's simple, it's still gonna be a but at least you want it to be manageable.
I mean, take DCC. We had to write a book about DCC to talk about what the packets were doing. We didn't need to know about the packets. You just take a handheld and you turn the throttle and then locomotive. That's what you want on LCC. And we're not there yet.
But even actually knowing how to set up, even though it's simple, you know that I just think the process of how they work, but signal when you want to solve what's on.
That's not a very easy thing.
Yeah, but once you get to know it, it's not hard to do. You just have it takes it's like a little study physically playing with it to fully understand.
And my hope frankly is when MRC comes out with that product and people start using it, Digitrax, NCE, the European manufacturers say, maybe you need one of those boxes themselves. In fact, I could use the same bloody box and just change a few components, hardware wise, and, you know, software's got to change. It's not that big a deal to.
I think Digitrax doesn't, is hesitant because our service is kind of technically a competitor because they use the local net, use a lot of their.
That's a viewpoint that they,
Oh, yeah.
that they have, that they shouldn't.
No, you're right. I'm just saying, that's probably stubborn.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
always that.
You bet, Erich?
And nobody in Europe is using LCC.
It's like, what's else to see? I don't really, so I don't need to change the train controller. But it's stubborn.
Thank you very much, guys. Signing this bill. Did everybody sign in?
No, I do have a best.
Anybody that didn't sign in, if you would just sign in.
Separate thing, anybody's selling at the White Elephant table and you want some tickets?
Yes.
Not you, I'm here to take care of.